Hello and welcome to this episode of Hoppy Valley, the Burton History Podcast. Tonight, it's the Cheese and Horse Festival 2025,
Hey!
um, to be held at the Burton Bridge Inn from 7 o'clock in the evening. So, if you want to come along and talk about Burton history, then do so, please. Bring some cheese and we'll be in there. This,
Yeah,
this discussion is in sort of in honour of that. Is about Burton and its relation to horses over the years.
because we can't take horses to the pub.
Not I. Well, I suppose you could try. Um,
They don't like it. I've tried. They get claustrophobic inside the pub.
it is a bit tight getting a horse in there. In fact, there's a couple of dogs. It's probably a bit tight to get them in there. But yeah,
Oh, I could dress Pip up as a horse for tonight.
a very small one.
Yeah, and bring it. She can be the honorary horse.
Yeah, she could. Yeah, she could be a horse. I think. Um, yeah. So we've got Burton's relationship to horses over the years. Burton was well known as a horse town and a horse trading town with the horse fair and so on. We're
Yeah.
going to look at its various incarnations over the years, um, starting off with the the charter, Burton Abbey, which is actually this is to your area. So you've gone to get your book. Wulfric spots the endowment. Well, you can pick it up. You tell us where the horses began.
So, Burton Abbey Charter number 29 is the will of Wulfric Spot, which is quite a lengthy document, and he goes on quite a length of what he's leaving to different people. But he says here, uh, I would say towards the back end of his, yeah, pretty much almost the end of his will, the penultimate paragraph. He says, and to the monastery at Burton, 100 wild horses and 16 tame geldings. And besides this, all that I possess in livestock and other goods except those which I have bequeathed.
There's 116 horses.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean,
that's not a small number of horses, is it?
no. I mean, it's going to take up quite a lot of space and require quite a lot of stabling.
Yeah. I mean, and,
The whole areas would
people
be
to like
with that.
prod them and move them.
Prodders and movers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot of other things that need to be done, isn't there? I mean, are they going to be shod? They've got to be fed. Um, if you're going to ride them, they've got to be saddled. If they're going to pull some kind of cart, then someone's got to make the cart.
I'm intrigued by the wild horses. Um, are they using wild horses to graze the washland or to graze a certain area? Are these wild horses intended to be tamed?
Mm.
Um, I'd love to know more. He doesn't mention any more
Is
in
the
his will.
original word that's used for wild? Does that could that possibly be translated from not owned by somebody in
Possibly.
a sense, not pre-owned, already owned by another landowner?
I can look at the in the Anglo-Saxon. Uh, well, I'm not sure. See, his will is a bit odd because it's kind of half in Anglo-Saxon and half in. There's bits of it which sound definitely Latin, and I'm no language expert, but he says here, um, into Pam Minister et Burton An hind pildra horsa, sextena tamer, henk gestes, which is your 100 wild horses, and hund pildra horsa, which is from the Anglo-Saxon, I believe, not Latin. And then uh, sextena tame henk gestes is your 16 tame geldings. So I don't know whether my Anglo-Saxon to modern English translation isn't great, but pildra, I'm not quite sure how that translates, whether it could be a different meaning from wild.
No, I mean, I wasn't. We can't necessarily know that by knowing the word, can we? But I was just
No.
wondering whether that what the implications of that specific word were. But obviously, there's that could be then to like you say to graze them on a part of the washlands, which would be next to the abbey. So that kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Horses that are available to then be broken in if need be. So yeah, it's hard to know what the context of that gift is, but it's a lot of horses. So what sort of year are we talking about there?
So that is in Wulfric Spot's Will and Testament. So that's 1002.
Right, so 1002, we've got 100 horses being given to
116.
116 being given to the abbey. We know that there was some sort of ecclesiastical establishment there prior to 2002, because we talked about that in relation to Ethelflaed last week. So there's probably going to have been horses there in the first place because people have got to get about. We know that places like Burton Abbey were visited by sort of dignitaries and monarchs who would themselves have arrived probably on horseback, possibly via the river. Um, I think the River Trent would have been used as a communications channel as well. But obviously, if monarchs are coming from London, from Winchester, or other parts of the country, they would need to access Burton by horse. So when the abbey kind of comes to fruition in the 11th century, and we know that, or some records suggest that people like William the Conqueror would have visited Burton um, with an entourage, with a retinue of people. We also would have to therefore consider that Burton Abbey had the facilities to look after quite a large party of people who would have, sort of, for the most part, travelled on horseback. So it's got a lot of
Yeah.
it's got facilities.
It's either horses, feet, or the river, isn't it? That's your mode of transport back then.
Yeah,
But if you
rivers.
arrive, you're gonna once you've arrived, you're going to need to do something in terms of uh, keeping that horse, aren't you?
Yeah, so there's got to be an infrastructure around the abbey, and if we've got horses, then we've got blacksmiths, and we've got people who are going to make uh, the tack, so bridles and saddles and so on. And we're going to have people who are going to make the the things they're going to draw. So if the horse is going to be going to be pulling a cart, you're going to need cartwrights and wheelwrights and so on. So there's the implication that there's quite a lot of workshop activity going on around the abbey. That would have occurred largely down at Bond End, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So Bond End being the area south of the house of Burton Abbey, where there is the bonded people of Burton Abbey live and work. Um, so to look after horses, you're going to need farriers, saddlers, stable boys, cartwrights, people to tend them. Um, there's a lot of extra work, isn't there?
Yeah, there's ancillary trades to well, the abbey anyway is going to have a lot of
Yeah,
those. The horses bring a lot of that with them, don't they? They take a lot of caring for, and
yeah,
a lot of stuff needs to be made in order to for their use really. Um, so yeah, medieval Burton's going to have quite a lot of horses in it. It's people's main source um, of of transport. I mean, the river is a source of transport, but it's only any good if you want to go in two directions.
Up or down.
Yeah, and then one or two destinations. So
Yeah.
it's not particularly flexible.
Won't
So
get you to squad.
no, and it certainly wouldn't get you to London
No.
or lots of. I mean, that the list of places it won't get you to is quite a long one.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're going to have to use the roads, and to do that, you have to walk. Or if you're a slightly more important person, you'll use a horse. And it was different horses for different tasks as well. So like, palfrey was the medieval. You had horses for courses.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what my brain
you're
when yeah,
you're
sorry.
about to say that. Uh,
Yeah.
Palfreys were the sort of the horse for long distances. Um, Obviously, we had war horses as well, destriers. Now, we know that we had those at Burton Abbey because there's a story about the Battle of the Black Pool
Yeah.
in. So that's in the 1080s. Geoffrey Malaterra was the abbot then. So we know that if he defeated 60 of Count Roger's men, I think it was 10 put 60 to flight. It says
Yeah.
in the annals of the story. Then at least there were at least 10 war horses that were stabled at the abbey, um, which is quite interesting. There's always different types of horses for different things, and the obviously sort of moving forwards slightly as well. The evidence suggested of that continuum with shy horses actually being used to pull heavy loads. I'm sure that they would have been involved in that process as well. British brewing was happening in the abbey, then horses used draft horses would have been an important factor as well. So it's just moving slightly forward out of the medieval period. There's a crucial date with horses, um, which is the arrival of the canals. Trent and Mersey Canal arrived in 1777. And why would canals be connected to horses?
Well, to me and to many other people who know about canals, it might seem obvious, but a canal has alongside it a towpath, and the towpath is where the horse would walk to tow the canal boat. Now, I actually did a bit of research on this and discovered that when, and I was surprised by this bit of research, Blue. When they first came up with canals and canal boats, the first canal hauliers employed teams of men for a short while to pull their canal boats. Um, but very quickly, someone came up with the idea that it might be better to use horses. And I would posit that it was probably one of the men pulling the canal boat that thought, can't we get an horse to do this?
Yeah, it seems like
um,
a reasonable thought. That
yeah. And then once the horses are in position, everyone realizes the horses are not only stronger than the men, but they're also cheaper than the men.
yeah,
Probably more reliable too.
yeah. And horses um, are the main form of uh, what's the word I'm looking for, to
Horsepower?
propel a canal barge before motors were widespread. So yeah, you've got a horse pulling the canal barge, and that's really yet another reason for horses to be in Burton, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've got two canals. We've got the Trent and Mersey Canal, and we've got
And the Burton Canal.
the Burton Canal joining the Trent and Mersey Canal to the River Trent at Bond End again.
And of
When
course, you need horses to pull boats on canals because unlike the river, canals don't flow.
yeah, I mean Do you need a horse to pull a boat up a river if you want to go the opposite way to the flow of the river?
Well, unlike canals, rivers don't tend to go in straight, neat lines with a tidy towpath along the side of it. So what tends to happen is that your horse isn't very practical for towing. So when you get onto a canal, if you want to go against the current on a canal, you're pretty much down to rowing or sail.
On a river.
Yeah. Because horses, although great and strong and everything, if you can't get them towed nicely to the boat, it's just not practical. So the flow of the river, even if you're moving against the flow, means that your horses aren't practical for towing.
So we've got like a high point there between 1777 and another important date in Burton's history. Well, 1777 was also, interestingly, the year of the establishment of the Bass Company, isn't it? Or
Yeah.
is it 1776
Yeah, it's
or
certainly around
1777?
there.
It's pretty much um, consistent with that date, isn't it? So, and obviously the canals were incredibly important for breweries because it enabled, and Trent and Mersey in particular, for things to go west for the first time. Beer had been able to go east, so to the Baltic trade and Russia, and also to London via the sea. But we hadn't really been able to move beer west because the River Trent doesn't really go that far west from Burton. It's really not navigable. It's only a small river then. So moving beer westward was very difficult for 1777, and a whole new market was opened. So incredibly important date for Burton. Another important date for Burton, further expansion of brewing, is 1839, where the Birmingham and Derby Junction Railway arrives in Burton, which also would have been probably a tipping point for the decline of horses in Burton. Um, the railways then taking up much of the transportation role. So from 1839, we've got the railways arriving in Burton. We've got a new expanded railway station built in 1883. And then horses, obviously, they retain their roles within the breweries and deliveries, which I think were still sometimes done by horses up until the 1950s
Yeah.
in Burton. Sometimes, I suppose, with the Burton infrastructure being what it was, horses might actually be easier to move things around. The Burton's railway network was so extensive that if you wanted to get anything from A to B, it was probably easy to just do it on a railway rather than using a horse. So I'd imagine that horses were in decline industrially. But there were other roles for horses in terms of general transport, and we've got quite a few different types of omnibus and hansom cabs and that kind of thing. Just give us a bit more about that, Jim, about the usage of horses for public transport in Burton.
Yeah. So the hansom cabs were available for those that could afford them. The first public passenger service in Burton uh, is as far back as 1846, and there is a horse-drawn omnibus service that ran between the Three Queens Hotel in Bridge Street and Burton Railway Station, and it ran up to 18 times a day, so fairly busy. Um, in 1871, it was decided that such services should have an operating license to maintain some sort of control, and the first license was issued to Charles Taylor for his application to run a service between the Fox and Goose Inn and the station.
That's
Um,
the current Burton Bridge
yeah, the current Burton
and the
Bridge.
railway station, yeah.
Yeah,
Which
and
at
then
that time, I believe, was 150 yards south of its current location.
yeah, and then by 1876, similar service was also available from the White Hart Hotel in High Street. Um,
We think that's opposite the top of Station Street.
yeah, uh, And at that time, by 1876, the railway station isn't where it is today. It's further north. Um, and there's a single line that runs from Derby to Hampton in Arden, where you can then connect to the London and Birmingham Railway. So that's the route you would have taken to get to London. Uh, as you say, 1880, the new station is built, opening in 1883. William Marriott, cab proprietor, ran the first two-horse service from Stabenhill Green, which would have been by where St Peter's Roundabout is today, to the station via the Trent Bridge four times a day. Uh, was quite expensive though. That service that was fourpence, so that was quite expensive. Um, and obviously that's before the ferry bridge, so that fourpence is a long way round and avoids using the ferry boat. Um,
Yeah. So we've got that's the public transport sort of angle for horses. So we used to see till quite recently the drays from Burton or from the Cause Museum taking people around for weddings and that kind of thing. Then there was the horse horses were involved in some sort of parade, weren't they? As well. Do you remember anything
yeah.
about that?
So the our horse parade is something that has. I mean, I miss it. And I imagine there's probably plenty of people, Burtonian wise, who will have listened to this, who will remember it. But there's the Burton Horse Drawn Parade, the Burton Shire Horse Parade, was a massive event and um, a great loss to the Shire Horse calendar, actually, because Shire horses are a protected breed now. They're very much in decline as a breed. And in fact, the Shire Horse Society, who I did a bit of research into, they um, they they were established because the breed, having fallen out of use for industry, was going into decline. And Shire horses are pretty much only around today because of these people, these society members who are passionate about the breed. They're not a practical horse for riding because of their size, but they are a practical horse, of course, for large, heavy work, which isn't what we really want horses for today.
Mm.
But the Shire Horse Parade was attended by Shire horses and Shire horse enthusiasts from all over the world. Um, and I remember as a child watching it, and it was, it'd take good 20, 30 minutes for all the horses to come past you. Yeah, there was a lot of horses and carriages that were involved in it. A massive event.
Yeah,
Um,
and maybe
A
this.
Burton annual tradition sorely missed.
Yeah, and one of these traditions that probably relates to the history of horse trading that went on in Burton. We had a horse fair and a horse market in Burton up until the 1920s that took place in Bridge Street. If you sort of think about the cast iron railings in Bridge Street at the town end of the bridge, those railings were actually put in place to stop horses from actually encroaching onto the pavement. Um, and that's one of the reasons why the location of our rebirth of the Cheese and Horse Festival is at the Burton Bridge Inn. Um, Another reason horses were involved with Burton life was in horse racing as well. Horse racing took place, we understand, from 1718. We have evidence for it happening outwards, um, and obviously there was a degree of success involved in this enterprise because Burton Meadow, then hosted a race course, and the grandstand of that race course we've researched was built from stone that was reclaimed from the abbey, and that stone in turn, when the grandstand was demolished in the I have this date here somewhere, 1842.
1842.
1842, yeah. That stone was used to reface the Riverside Church in High Street. So if you're walking down High Street at any point, the Riverside Church is just tucked away there in a little recessed part, just opposite, diagonally opposite Meadowside Drive. Have a glance at that and have a look at the stone front on that church, because it isn't in keeping with the rest of the building. It's got an interesting contrast, actually. It looks very much like a Gothic medieval stone front church, and that's possibly the reason why, is because the stone is actually in its second reuse, so its third incarnation, in fact, as the front of that church. But yeah, so have you got anything about this? Because a lot of people were quite surprised to hear that there was a race course in Burton at all, and it's a sort of location tucked away a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, Burton on Trent, in terms of racing, is quite interesting. So we can go back further than that, Blue. Um, the Burton the history of Burton racing, we can date back to 1718. Um, the St James Evening Post newspaper had an advert in it from the Thursday, the 28th of August to Saturday, the 30th of August, 1718, um, advertising the King's Plate race at St James at Burton upon Trent races in at, on the Outwood Hills in the Horninglow area. Um, the principal race of the meeting was the King's Plate, um, and it was run for a purse of 10 guineas. Um, each horse must not exceed 14 hands high, and each horse carried 9 stone, and the race was over 3 heats. So um, we've got evidence of horse racing in 1718 at Burton and outwards. Um, we do know, though, that that land becomes enclosed and is no longer available for racing. So it's that race is transferred to the meeting at Lichfield. Um, Lichfield Racecourse subsequently became a golf course. It's at Whittington, Lichfield Racecourse, and it ultimately became a golf course. And if you play golf at Whittington, you can still see the winning post and part of the grandstand to this very day. Um, but the meeting at Burton transfers later on, um, and we have evidence of this right up until the 1840s and 1836. Well, there is actually we've got a copy of the Burton-on-Trent race card, which we have in our souvenir brochure. If you come on one of our tours, we've got a copy of that for you. And there's some good stakes. There's a nice picture of the grandstand itself, um, and we've got sweepstakes of 5 sovereigns, 10 sovereigns. Um, there's the Anglesey Plate is run for 30 sovereigns. The Draco Stakes, 25 sovereigns each. Um, and this is it's a big race. There's enough meat that there's several races. There's a race car printed. There's a grandstand. It's obviously producing money. Otherwise, these things wouldn't be there.
Is you said about talking about the they said the Anglesey stakes or something.
Yeah.
Is this, do you think, organised by the Marquis of Anglesey,
Yeah. So
by the
it said
Paget?
if you on the race card it says I'm going to have to zoom in at my image of the race card to read this. Excuse me a moment. Um, the Anglesey played to 50 sovereigns. Sorry, not 30, 50 sovereigns. Given by the Marquis of Anglesey, heats 2 miles and a distance, mares and geldings allowed £21. Um, and the one, two, three, four, five, six horses ran that day in that. One of whom was the Sylvan, Chestnut Sylvan Orange, belonging to General Yates. Any relation, Blue?
I
No,
don't know, possibly.
possibly. Could be the same Yates.
Could be.
Um, but yeah, you look at the names of the owners of the horses. We've got Mr. Lacey's horse, Mr. Critchley's horse, Mr. Wilson's horse. But then we've got Lord Chesterfield's horse, Sir Greville's horse, and General Yates's horse. So you've got three men of significant standing by title there, but then also other men as well running horses in the race. So it's a well attended meet. There's plenty of people in it. The Marquis of Anglesey is giving the plate of 50 sovereigns. The Draco Stakes, I would imagine, is probably sponsored by the owners of Draco Hall. That if you look at each of the races that have got a sponsor of sort, the other one is the Bretby Cup, which is given by the Earl of Chesterfield.
Yeah, so it's kind of like there's obviously a lot of influence from local landowners, members of the gentry, and so on.
Yeah,
And that kind of that was demolished. That grandstand course and everything else was demolished in 1840, 1842. And then obviously that also strikes at it's a period of time very close to the arrival of the railway. So this is starts to I suppose a decline in horses within Burton. Um, so
would you
we've
like? Sorry, would you like some figures on the decline of horses, Blue?
yeah, go on then.
So I can't speak just for Burton, but Shire horses, who are the big workhorses of the industrial age, their numbers fell um, from well over 1 million to just a few thousand in the 1960s.
Hmm.
So that's gone from a huge number of horses down to hardly any left. Which is why you've got the Shire Horse Society so f strongly promoting them.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I think the horses that we used to be at the museum were were, were an attraction, weren't they? People used to come and
yeah,
see them, just because it's quite an unusual thing to see, and it was quite a unique quality to Burton that we had these kind of this association with drays and so on. Maybe we can make an appeal to anyone out there listening who may know whether or not the new museum is intending to bring show horses back, or what any sort of plans are around that, the stabling of horses for the new museum, or any information along those lines. So please let us know if you know. If you don't want to, if you have some kind of phobia about posting messages online, then come in and tell us tonight at the pub, where
yeah,
we'll be discussing, amongst other things, horses. Um, if anyone has any information that they'd like to share with us, any memories of horses in any context in Burton, then we'd be delighted to hear from you. So thanks, Jim. I mean, that's been an interesting chat, I think, about one
Yeah.
very specific aspect of Burton's history. Don't forget, Cheese and Horse Festival, for only the second time in probably more than a century. Going to be happening at the Burton Bridge Inn from 7 o'clock on Tuesday, the 28th of October. That's tonight, if this goes out on Tuesday, which I think we're planning it does.
Yep. If so,
So,
if you're listening to this on the day it's released, it's tonight. Come and join us.
yeah, which would be interesting. I mean, I think that more than anything else, it's just it's great to kind of to try and commemorate. Is it the eve of St. Modwin's Day?
Yeah, it's the eve of St. Modwin's
The
Day,
eve of St.
and
Modwin's Day. Our own patron saint, St. Modwin, without whom we probably wouldn't be living here, although that's debatable. She
well,
certainly,
somebody else might have gone. It's a nice spot, isn't it?
yeah, somebody else might have done, maybe not with the same degree of success or aplomb that she did. Who knows? But we're certainly going to mark the day or the eve of the day this year as we did last year. So do join us for that. Thank you very much for listening. This has been Hoppy Valley, the Burton History Podcast. We've been delighted to have you with us on board. Until the next time, it's goodbye from me, Blue, and it's goodbye from him,
Jim.
Goodbye.